All right, hi everybody. Oh, I'm getting an echo from one of you. I'm not sure who. Today is Tuesday, and it is a release note today. We've got a double feature as we missed 4.12. So we're going to talk about some stuff that came out 4.12, and then we're going to talk about some stuff that's 4.13, which is brand new. So Forrest and Jake are here, and they're going to talk all about it. So.
Yes, we do have a double feature because we did miss 4.12. Kind of a bummer, but I could wear two hats since we're talking about two releases.
Oh, there you go. Very nice. Very nice.
But it feels weird to wear two hats at the same time. So we'll just stick with one, and we'll get started talking about 4.12. That we kind of got in the throes of dealing with some issues. You know, there were a couple of issues with 4.12. We'll talk about those in between, but we'll start with the good news and the good stuff from 4.12. And hello, Jake.
Hold on.
Jake's going to come in and chat about 4.13 as well and do some demos like the normal show here. So let's pull up some release notes and talk about those.
Awesome. I put the link in the chat for folks who want to follow along.
All right. And sharing we are. So here's our 4.12 release notes. This was released back on April 17th. So quite a bit in this release. It was a bummer. We didn't get to our Twitch stream. I can see our release notes even. We were expecting to do it on the 9th. But we missed even that one. So today we have, or in 4.12, we had two new Kubernetes plugins describing pod and the ephemeral debug container. Both of these lean into that automated diagnostics, play, and a very popular topic for us lately, which is, that Kubernetes topic. In 4.12, we also expanded 3 new additional plugin suites. We've talked about those before for the last couple of releases, streamlining that configuration of different areas. So we've got the Google Cloud, Google Cloud plugins, the Datadog, and then the Azure suite as well, all covered in there. So that list is starting to get nice and long. I think you're going to show a little bit of that. Or can you pull that up a little bit later, Jake, and show all the plugin suites?
Yeah, definitely.
And then we had a fun one. So I want to spend a little bit of time on this PagerDuty incident notification plugin. The functionality is great, but the story there is this actually came from what we would consider a community member. And now it was a staff member at PagerDuty, but David Darby is not on the engineering team. Shout out to Dave. Stepped up, and if you don't know, our plugin development is available out there, and you can write your own plugins. So he had a need from, I think, one of our customers, and decided to just write this plugin for us. Once it's written, we do vet it. We do have people take a look at the code before it goes into the product, but it was a huge step forward for us. So there is the plugin development link that Jake just posted over there. We also had a few enhancements to the enterprise runners. This one is particularly around performance. Reading this, I was chatting with Jake a little bit earlier, and it's funny that it's termed here as a perceived job duration, because what was happening was it just wasn't sending the information back to the UI very quickly. It was kind of queuing them up, and if you had a lot of job steps happening, it wasn't, it seemed like the job was taking forever, but actually the job was happening quickly. It's just the feedback about it wasn't. So now that's significantly faster as of 4.12. And we added to the remote URL job options some authentication options. So you can provide authentication with a basic, an API key, or bearer token, as well as the ability to select out using JSON path specific JSON elements to use as like a list or as input for that. A few security updates, related to some CVEs that were out in the wild that we addressed. And just a whole host of updates in this.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in there.
Yeah.
And just on that that last piece, like the remote job options, I mean, that was requested by a few customers, and the whole story there is when you want to give your job runners, your job invokers, a list of options to choose from, and that list is something that can be just dynamically pulled from somewhere. That's what this API call is that you're defining. And previously, we didn't have, I don't think we had any method for doing authentication-based API calls. You had to point process automation to an endpoint that just had that list available. So we've added, all of these authentication methods and being able to use a key and key storage to authenticate. And then, as Forrest mentioned, being able to reference a list of items that's nested in that JSON to be that drop down list of selectable items by the job invoker. So it's really great if you're a job author and you know that you want to give your users a list of, say, regions that they can deploy a compute instance into, or a list of sizes that they can increase their compute instance to. And you have that list hosted internally or externally somewhere. It's really, really powerful feature.
Cool.
And you can do it all behind authentication now. Previously, we were expecting a kind of an open API endpoint. You could get around it with basic auth, but then you're putting the username and password right there at the URL. So
exactly.
Doing that. So now we have all the new features for that. When we did release 4.12, as part of that update, we did some core updates to Spring, which introduced, unfortunately, kind of a challenging bug for the team related to single sign-on. So some customers, if you were running single sign-on, would get a kind of generic white screen error, which we identified and fixed with the 4.12.1 release. It is also fixed in 4.13. That is one of the big reasons why we kind of kept delaying some of this notes, is we were focusing much more on ensuring the quality of the product rather than jumping on and talking about some of the other things. So this is fixed now. There's a little bit more details out here on the 4.12.1 release notes. And with that, we'll move on to yesterday's release, just hot off the CI/CD presses, the 4.13 release notes. Jake, you ran with the vast majority, if not all, of this release, so I'll let you kind of run through these.
I was hands-on with some of these, and just like with most of our releases, it spanned a number of our engineers, and got also some contributions to our automated diagnostics project as part of this release from some of our field engineers as well. So I want to shout out to them as well. But digging into these, the first one here is pretty exciting as we continue to enhance our enterprise runner, putting plugins on the runner that would make sense for tasks that would take place in customer secure environments. So now we put our SQL run command plugin, our GitHub run script, our VMware node steps, all on the runner, making it so that you can define a job and say that job will execute through one of these enterprise runners in your remote environment. And you can use these plugins so that you don't have to write a script to define those job steps.
And all those plugins now are delivered with the runner when you download it, right?
Exactly. They're part of the runner package. And
awesome.
So there's nothing else that you need to do. If you're on the latest runner version, that runner now has those plugins. And if your job definition says, I want to query a database using the SQL run command plugin, then that's exactly how it will work.
And to see those, you do have to still enable that feature, the distributed automation feature, right?
Correct. Yeah, distributed automation feature that we released in 4.11 is what will allow you to effectively dispatch those plugin step commands to the runner. Still on the theme of the runner, what we did in this release was make it so that you can dispatch ad hoc commands to the runner. So in the product, there's the commands tab, and now you can select the runner that you want to execute the command through that runner to the remote node that you have in question. So this is actually better demoed than just verbalizing it. So I can dig in and show that here in a second. And then also as part of the demo, I'll show this third item here, which is pretty big for some of our customers. And especially when you think of process automation as that orchestration layer above and across the automation that you may already have. This enhancement allows customers to leverage Systems Manager across their multiple AWS accounts, which is a pretty big deal because it's not something something straightforward that you could do without this tool. And so what we did here was allow users to bring in multiple EC2 instances from multiple AWS accounts, and then say that they want process automation to assume a role for each of those accounts, and then in effect act as if it is managing Systems Manager in each of those accounts. And I'll be able to demo that here in a second as well. So an interesting stat on that is that with this enhancement, we've got a couple of customers using it. One of them is going to be managing upwards of 85 AWS accounts. And you would think that's a lot until you hear that the second customer of ours is going to be managing over 1,000 AWS accounts.
Oh my goodness.
Using this feature. Super interesting case study. They offer a deployment architecture of their software where they host it in their customers' AWS accounts. So whereas PagerDuty, we host our SaaS in our AWS account. If we offered a way to host it in our customers' AWS accounts, that is what this customer of ours is doing, and that is why they have an abundance, to say the least, of AWS accounts. And so
a little bit more of a managed service provider model for that one.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's still a kind of a SaaS experience, but for data residency and security reasons, this is the architecture model they have. So this for them is absolutely critical. It allows them to scale their operations. So we're pretty excited about it.
Cool.
So happy to dig into the demo here. The last item here is a little bit more minor in comparison. It's yet another plugin suite, this time for our Sensu plugins. And just as a reminder, the plugin suite phenomenon is what makes it easier to set up a new integration of sorts that makes it so that in one place you can define all plugins. We have job step plugins, node source plugins, health check plugins, and previously you had to define the credentials for those plugins in multiple places. So now we provide a nice GUI for that, and can do it in one place. So we can show that as well.
Cool.
And of course, there's always the whole host of fixes, which is done by our support and the engineering team tied to them. We're referred to as the sustaining engineering team. So big thanks to Jaime and their group for also attacking all of these little bugs, little things that are easy to miss, but really will solve major pain points for customers.
Cool. All right, Jake, are you ready with your demo then?
I sure hope so. Otherwise, we have a problem.
Oh,
so share
there we go.
screen.
Okay.
As you said, problems. You fell off the Twitch.
Yeah, I was removing his screen as he was removing his screen, and compress it down. There we go.
All right.
There we go.
4.13. So we're gonna jump in here and make this a little bit bigger. And so the first thing I'll show is the plugin suites configuration. I have just AWS set up in this case, but if I go to add a plugin config, what you now see is this this list that has grown over the last few releases of these different vendors that we integrate with. And so I can, I can select Sensu. I could select, let's say, GCP was the Google Cloud plugins that we can set up here. So when I configure this now, now any GCP plugins, like I said, health check, node source, job step. If we have node executor plugins, that's actually what we'll talk about with AWS. Now all of those plugins can rely on the authentication methods that I've set up here at a project level, or I can do that at the system level for the entire process automation instance through system configuration. From here, actually, what I'll then transition to is actually talking about the Systems Manager enhancement. So we have our Systems Manager node executor. A node executor is a method of communication between process automation and the remote nodes that you want to dispatch commands or scripts onto. And so now what we have here, in addition to the previous fields, we have this ability to assume role and the ARN that you want to assume. And this would define it for the entire project. But what we actually did is we made it so that you can define this role ARN on a per node source basis. And so I won't show all of that here, but if I add in multiple node sources to pull in EC2s from multiple AWS accounts, then for each of those node sources, I can say use this ARN for this account and this ARN for that account. And that's what allows this node executor to effectively manage cross-account auth and dispatch commands across accounts. And so that's actually what we'll be able to demo here. So if I go ahead and run this again, what you'll see here is I've got two EC2s. And the fact of the matter is that both of these reside in two separate AWS accounts. And if I run this command across both nodes, what it'll give us is the public IP for both of these instances. And they're both in US West 1, so that's actually why their public IPs look somewhat similar. But this is in one AWS account, and this is in a separate one. And what we've provided to our end users is that abstraction layer to make it feel like they can manage them through one seamless interface. What you may have caught on the screen is that other piece that is new in 4.13, which is being able to define the runner that you want to use for the ad hoc commands. And I don't have any remote runner set up for this process automation instance. But if I did, and I wanted to choose a runner to use for dispatching commands through that runner to those nodes, I would now be able to do that here. And this is really, really great for testing communication, testing your setup of the desired architecture for really this orchestration layer. Again, the big piece of the runners is being able to manage multiple zones from a centralized interface, a centralized tool. Just like with the cross-account SSM, it's all part of the same theme here. So I'll pause. That was a lot, but hopefully it gets across a lot of the work that we've been doing here.
Yeah, that adds a lot of flexibility for folks managing things in AWS. So that looks great. And if anybody out there has any questions, you can add them in the chat and we'll ask them. But yeah, this looks good.
I can stop sharing here. Stop screen. There we go. Yeah. So what's nice about that, right, is that like we're giving customers the choice of how they want to manage and automate and orchestrate. And we talk about this all the time that we can wrap around whether they're using Ansible or Python scripts, and similarly we can, if they want to use Systems Manager, they can do that, and we've given them that ability for cross-account. Or if they want to use our runners, we've continued to invest there as well.
Is there a way that you suggest folks make that decision, or is it more just how they're managing their AWS accounts one way or the other there?
I am. We are not necessarily biased if they want to use our runner versus systems manager. I think typically what we would say is go with is easiest on your security posture as well as your time to deploy, right? So if you've got the systems manager agents already on the EC2 instances that you're running with, then it's kind of a flip of the switch to quote unquote activate them and add those instances to be managed instances. So your time to value there is going to be pretty slim. That said, like it's an agent based model, and so you're going to be managing all of those agents on a kind of 1-to-1 ratio of how many EC2s you have, whereas our runner is meant more as a satellite architecture. It's a one-to-many, and so that might also be a reason that customers choose one way or the other. But it means that you're managing less of these communication satellites, if you will.
Cool. All right. And all the stuff we've seen today is in the commercial versions, right? So if folks want to get hold of these things.
Yes.
Yeah, the exception there is the Kubernetes plugins that
okay, great.
spoke about at the beginning. Those are available to our community and can be installed on any OSS instance.
Awesome. Oh, that's excellent. Very good.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Is there anything else coming up that you want to tease out for folks, or you good to go?
We're still going to continue to invest in the runner architecture. There's plenty more to do there. When we look ahead at thematically, what we're going to be looking at, two things come to the top of my mind. We've always got a lot of things we'd love to do. The first one is what I like to call up and useful, is just improving the UX across the board and making it easier, right? That's what drove the plugin groups. That's what drove all the way back to 3.4 when we did the whole new UI, right? We're just continuing to chip away in various areas around making it easier to get done what people want to get done. It also helps us lean in we under the same theme into the content, right? So Jake's SSM demo here, there is also some learning articles and some content out there. I'm not looking closely at all the links, but I think the most recent link there is one of those trainings, right? That's another way that we try to help get things going. The second idea is around measuring some value, right? We're going to be spending a little bit more time and putting a little more effort into that ROI metrics feature that we've mentioned in the past, right? That's been out there in sort of its initial state, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from customers, so we're going to make some improvements there as well.
Awesome. Sounds great. All right. I don't see any questions from the audience, but if anybody does have questions, you can always find the Rundeck community on the Google group. You can reach out to us as well via the PagerDuty community at community.pagerduty.com, and we'll all try and help you get all your questions answered as best as we can. So, yeah. All right, guys.
Great. Thanks.
That's great. All right. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.
Thanks,
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you never miss a stream. Follow us at PD Community and PagerDuty on twitch.tv. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you'd like to be on our stream, email us at community-team@pagerduty.com so we can feature the cool things you're doing. And don't forget, check out all of our global events on our calendar at pagerduty.com/events.